apparently not content with taking the government to court over their lockdown strategy, you're now upset about wearing face masks in shops.
Yes, absolutely upset about it, and I think it's the thin end of the wedge, really, James. First of all, face masks, they've been telling us since March they don't work. The WHO have said this, the government have said this, and then all of a sudden they're starting to change their tune and saying, well, actually, we're kind of sure that the evidence is that they really don't work, but you should just wear them anyway. So that seems to me to be a ridiculous change of tack for no apparent reason. And the reason that Matt Hancock is saying is that he thinks that it will give people confidence to go back into the high street because he wants people spending money again. Well, far from it. This doesn't give people confidence. What these masks do are a constant reminder that there is and I put this in inverted commas, a silent, invisible killer still on the prowl that we need to protect ourselves from, which is abundantly false. So, but apart from taking away the usual civil liberties and the government encroaching more and more on our lives, they're the main practical reasons.
Fine, but face masks and hand sanitizer are a small price to pay if it does give us a bit more freedom.
I don't. Washing your hands is basic hygiene, and the wearing the mask why does it give you more freedom? I don't understand your point.
Well, because arguably, if there is a scintilla of truth in the sense that wearing a face mask stops the spread of the germs, then surely that's a good idea, isn't it?
Well, it's not a good idea. It would be a good idea if it worked, but A, it doesn't work, and B, there is very little of this thing left. The Hancock's own figures said the other day that even in May, for the month of May, there were only 13 cases out of 10,000, and this is the government's flawed testing and exaggerated numbers as they've now admitted.
Fine. So you say the government is flawed. At talkRADIO, we would only encourage people to follow government guidelines. So, I mean, you're entitled to disagree with them, but then you're not really in this country anyway. So one can wonder as to why you're making such a fuss about it. But anyway, if you have a look at this and you have a look at what's happened in America, look at Florida, look at Texas, look at California. So you can say that the government here in the UK has taken the wrong steps. And as you correctly say, coronavirus cases are down, deaths are down. Look at what's happening in the US where they didn't have lockdown, where they didn't use face masks in this way.
Well, it's strange you mentioned that, James, and thank you for bringing up the fact that I don't live in the UK. We've been through that point many times before.
But there are people listening now, and they may not necessarily know that.
Both know it's entirely irrelevant.
It's entirely relevant. It's absolutely relevant.
James, let me ask you a question. If you were living in the UK in 1938 and you saw what the Germans were doing to the Jews, would you say to yourself, oh, well, I don't live in Germany, it doesn't matter, I won't bother doing anything? I doubt that very much. At least I hope not. Anyway, getting back to your point.
Utterly irrelevant point.
No, it's exactly the same point as you're saying.
It's not.
Let me get back to face masks.
You're talking about money. You're talking about protecting your own wealth without doing something to bring without bringing your money here. If you really cared that much, you would come and live in this country. You would pay your taxes in this country, and you wouldn't have avoided paying tax up to now. And now you're interfering with a court system with your money, your wealth that you haven't used in tax. It's absolutely bonkers.
Well, to try and prevent people dying in the UK. The report out yesterday in the Telegraph, and this is a government report saying that they knew that up to 200,000 people were going to die because of lockdown. That was in April they issued that report.
And with respect, comparing COVID and people wearing masks to the death of millions of people in concentration camps in Germany is pretty offensive.
That's silly, James. I didn't say that at all. I never said that at all. I was talking about a principle that if you saw a wrong going on in another country, would you do something about it? And I'd like to think that you would. I'm sure you would. You're
closer. You're closer. Oh, the dog's cross. You're closer to France.
My dog's annoyed with you now, James.
Well, everybody is. You are closer to France than you are the UK. Anyone in France entering shops and other indoor public places without a face mask will be fined €135. So if the UK's that stupid, France is doing it too. What are they doing wrong?
Yeah, I'm not. They're all, in my mind, face masks have been proven and have the World Health Organization and the government have
and the
said
World
they
Health
don't
Organization
work.
changed their advice.
Well, how can you change your advice on something so basic? They've been around for years. So why all of a sudden are they working? Anyway, get back to your point about California.
So should we not cover our mouths when we sneeze?
Yes, that's just basic hygiene. It's like should we brush our teeth? All these things. Do you drive a car, James?
Regularly.
How much of life do we stop to try and prevent the scintilla of a chance of somebody else being hurt?
Okay, so for years. Okay, so logically, following your example, so somebody does some research and finds out that wearing a mask may have some positive benefit, and therefore we may be better off if enough people wear them. Okay, so years ago you didn't have to wear a seatbelt in a car, and now you do. Why? Because they found out that wearing a seatbelt saves lives. Look, there is no logic to what you're doing. I mean, has the government done anything right in your opinion?
No, literally nothing. I mean, you could argue that the original lockdown potentially for a week or two to help flatten the curve, which is, you remember what the whole point was. Maybe that could have helped. But since then, is there really anything that they've done right?
So what would you have done?
I would have stopped. Well, it's easy to say with hindsight, isn't it? And it's a bit of an easy question to answer. But after 2 weeks,
just from Monaco with a nice barking dog.
I'm in France at the moment. Once it was evident that
you're going to have a face mask with you, you're going to get fined €135 if you don't have one.
I simply refuse to wear them. It's fine. When
you get fined, send me a picture.
I'll send you the fine. You can pay it.
I mean, what I find so extraordinary, though, is why you are so angry about it. I don't like wearing face masks either, by the way. But having said that, if I thought that even if there's zero chance of it doing anything, as long as it's not doing anything bad, if there's a zero chance and it's or there's a small little slither that it might actually help, I would do it on the basis that we need to do everything we can possibly to get our economy running. I agree with you on that. I just don't think that taking the government to court and saying that they're doing nothing good helps anyone.
Well, you have to do something. This is the only actual well, there are another recourse, which we did at the weekend, which was that the protest in Hyde Park against the face mask. So that's one angle that you can take. But we went down the legal angle because we believe that the government should be held to account in some way, shape or form.
But that's what the opposition are there to do, and the opposition agree with this as well.
The opposition haven't been anywhere, and let's face it, no MPs have been in Parliament for the entirety of the lockdown.
Well, obviously. That's not true. They have been there.
Well, they actually haven't, because they were in lockdown, weren't they? They were there. Well,
they've opened up Parliament, and some of them are doing it virtually, and some of them are there. I mean,
yes,
look, here's the point. The USA released too early, and look at where it's got them. Look at what they're having to do now. Look at the fact that President Trump is now saying, well, maybe we should wear face masks, and maybe we should have lockdown, etc., etc.
Sorry, I lost part of you then. You were talking about the USA, I think.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that look at the USA. They've released too early, and look at where it's got them. They are now having to play catch up. There is no alternative other than to lock down in order to get rid of this virus. There is no alternative to closing down international travel. And even President Trump indicates and seems to think that maybe wearing masks might be a good idea in the short term.
Yeah, I don't have to agree with everything President Trump says, as much as I enjoy him. I think you look at California. So California have mandated masks now, I think, for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Cases have gone up 160%. So if masks work, they evidently haven't worked just in that one particular state. I think the evidence for masks is extremely weak. But like you say, even if there was just one life that was saved somewhere in the world because someone sneezed in a mask rather than in their handkerchief or all over the person next to them, then you could say that would be a good thing. But again, it's really not a zero-sum game. There's plenty of evidence to say that wearing them is actually unhealthy for a lot of people. Disabled people really suffer. If you have a health reason,
but if you have a health reason as to why you can't wear one, you don't have to wear one. I mean, what do you know that the health experts don't?
Well, only what the government all around the world and the World Health Organization were telling us in March and April, that masks don't work. That's all I know about it, James. I mean,
but they've changed their advice, and they know more than you and me.
They've changed their their advice. And the World Health Organization just 2 days ago said that their opinion is that face masks don't work, but they've been lobbied politically. This was on the BBC. They've been lobbied politically to put out a line to say that, well, we've changed our advice and they do work. Why would they do that?
Okay, but then why are you wasting everybody's time, effort and money by going to court again? I mean, this is just a repeat of your previous effort. Is this just because, you've got an ego or you're bored?
No, I never have time to be bored. The ego thing is questionable. No, this is the mask thing is not this.
Oh, well, let's hope that you can afford
public protest.
You're back. And we lost you there for a moment. Are you still there, Simon? No.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Oh, you can hear me fine. Right. Okay.
I'll rattle on.
Yeah, let's see if we can try once again. So what's driving you? Ego or boredom?
Yeah, neither. I don't think. This has become an awful lot more than about me. When you see the amount of people that turned up at Hyde Park the other day for the protest, and the messages I get every day, literally hundreds of messages every day of support. And so there's a lot of disabled people that are suffering, and there's people with autistic children and with autism themselves, deaf people, that they never even get a mention. They have to lip read. Well, they can't lip read anymore if people are wearing face masks all the time. So people do suffer because other people are wearing them. And that's not to mention the divide that's caused, the artificial divide that's caused between people who wear masks and people who don't, or anti-maskers and muzzlers and all this stuff. More and more a divide is being caused for no reason whatsoever.